I actually think that there is a golden nugget of wisdom, which is he needs to be very confident and don't be so down and negative, because the mindset that he's got right here is the problem.
He's looking for the same moral standpoint.
You want the same values. That's the most important thing. And that's why I like eHarmony, because they'll match you with people who have the same values. That's what you're looking for. There's techniques that you learn how to do that with people, which then breaks that barrier down, because introversion is probably just a symptom of not knowing how to do certain things and not being confident enough.
Well, there's certain people that are introverts that have a hard time having a conversation with people. Like they're in a shell.
If you identify and you never try anything,
right?
But every weakling can become strong.
Right.
It's the same type of skill that can happen if you're introverted. It's not an inherent quality unless you decide that it is.
I don't think he's quite figured out who he is, because if he figures out who he is, he'd be happy.
Yeah. And then once he's happy, he will attract the right person.
Right.
And that will just naturally happen. If you're on Tinder, there's no such thing as let you down easy. It's Tinder. It's a hook up everything. You shouldn't be on Tinder if you're looking for any kind of decent and high quality relationship. It's a garbage tank. Dating is about eliminating everybody who is wrong for you and picking your favorite from who is left over. And you pick it based on values. All right, so let's watch another Matt Walsh gives parenting advice.
All right, Carter says, Mr. Walsh, I listen to and enjoy your show very much. I would hazard to say that I agree wholeheartedly with your views on marriage and the family. Being a traditionally raised Catholic myself, I've come to understand the
Are you Catholic?
No.
beauty and joy that marriage and the family can bring into one's life. However,
Yeah.
I find it impossible to find anyone that I'm interested in dating, much less marrying, who resides anywhere near me. I was wondering if you would have any advice or words different from the typical be patient or you need to get out more. I'll admit that I have reclusive tendencies and that I mostly just go to work and then go home.
What do you think so far?
So far, I don't have any issues.
With that, most of the young adult groups in my area would consist of women in professions which would not allow for traditional marriage and family, which is how I'd want to raise children. I also don't like bars. They're typically loud. They also typically contain drunks, and you don't want to pick up somebody in a bar.
Right.
Too many people go out and think, oh, I'm going to go to a bar and find somebody that I like. Don't do that. That's not the place that you want to pick up people.
Dark and crowded, which usually causes me to shut down. Not to mention I likely wouldn't find the kind of woman I'm interested in at a bar.
That's probably true.
Combine this all with the fact that most of my dreams that have had any true value have all ended in failure. I find it hard to maintain hope that there is someone out there for me.
Now I know why he's having a hard time finding someone. Because this is pretty negative, like bad place, depression. This is very unattractive on somebody.
Perhaps you have the golden nugget of wisdom that will help me hold on to hope. I guess my first golden nugget of wisdom, Carter, is to stop expecting anyone to have a golden nugget of wisdom that's going to solve your problem.
Right. I agree with that.
Yeah.
You have to work on you first.
Right. I actually think that there is a golden nugget of wisdom, which is he needs to be very confident and don't be so down and negative, because the mindset that he's got right here is the problem.
Right.
He needs to go out and, you know, honestly, probably you get on a dating website, but not a hookup one.
Right.
Get on one like eHarmony that will introduce you to high quality women who are looking for the same thing, because that's the place that you go for people that are interested in that. So you've got the proximity effect, even though they're not geographically necessarily with you or around you. But you will find one, and be patient and wait. This process can take a few years. I was on eHarmony for at least a year, and Summer came on, and she was on a very short period of time before we were introduced, and we dated for a year before we wound up getting married. And but I was on it, and I had gone out on 6 or 10 dates, and you know, I maybe went out on one a month from eHarmony, and it was worth it. And she was a higher quality person that I had ever met at any of the bars and places like that, because I did that. I tried all that. It doesn't work. And I went through all that societal stuff in my 20s that just is nonsense. And it's what everybody thinks that you're supposed to do. And you go out and you're looking, and it was just a nightmare.
Mm-hmm.
And I wish I hadn't done any of that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And I was successful in getting all the fruit that there was there out of that type of thing, which was nothing good for any kind of long-term relationship. And thank God none of that stuff worked out, because I was like this guy, but going in a confident way, but approaching it the wrong way.
Right.
And trying to go into bars and trying to go into clubs and do those type of things, and then meet people. And as the owner of the nightclub, you've got social credibility. You're the top dog there, and so you're alpha dog in anybody that walks in the door. And I was good looking at the time and had a lot going for me, and it was easy for me to get girls that to be interested in me and take my pick of whoever I wanted.
Right.
But none of it was right, and they weren't in the right place, and it was just the whole atmosphere and everything. It was the wrong place.
Right.
Looking for the wrong thing at the wrong place with the wrong people.
Mm-hmm.
None of us were ready at that point in time for any of that stuff, and it was, there's drinking involved and any of that stuff, and it was very, very shallow.
Yeah.
It's like some of those videos that we've reviewed in the past, and I'm sure we'll do some more of those, but
I went through the philosophy of, it'll just happen when it's right. I didn't date for 5 years. I didn't date. I just focused on working. I was very career driven, and I had opportunities to go on dates, but I just didn't. I focused on myself. I figured out who I was as a person.
That's critical.
Because I realized that I was becoming a person when whatever relationship I was in, I was becoming whatever that person needed to be for for the other person versus like who I was.
Mm-hmm.
And it was a lot of growing up and a lot of growing it for myself.
Yep.
And so whenever Daniel came back into my life, I was a total different person.
What ages was that for you?
When Daniel came back, what
was the 5 years? How old were you during those 5 years?
24.
24 to 28 or 9?
29, yeah.
Because 9 plus...
Yeah.
24 plus 5 would be 29.
Yeah. We were talking. We weren't really dating at that point. We started dating when I was 30. And then we got married right before I turned 31. Like 4 days before I turned 31.
That's how old Summer was, too. How old is Daniel? How much? Y'all are the same age,
no,
right?
No. He's a year
or two older than you, right?
and 10 months older than me. So, yeah.
But, yeah, this guy, he's got to go. I mean...
He needs to figure out himself.
Yeah.
I don't think he's quite figured out who he is.
Yep.
Because if he figures out who he is, he'd be happy.
Yep. And then once he's happy, he will attract the right person.
Right.
And that will just naturally happen.
Yeah. It sounds like
you need to go out and do stuff too.
Yeah.
But do healthy stuff. Like get into some kind of sport. Go play tennis or pickleball or get into some physical activity.
Or go to a singles like go to a church singles group. Yep. Like they have even though he's Catholic, there are non-denominational churches that are pretty large that have big single groups. And they have it usually on Tuesday nights. And he should go to something like that where he is around a large amount of single people who are Christ driven.
Yep.
And he will find somebody in that. Because that's what it sounds like he's looking for. The same moral standpoint.
You want the same values. That's the most important thing. And that's why I like eHarmony, because they'll match you with people who have the same values. That's what you're looking for. And the moment that you come up with some or find out that somebody does not have one of your key values, that's the information that you need. It doesn't matter how much they like you or interested in you or how attractive they are or how great something and how much you wanted it to work. You've got to move on. You got to move on past that.
Right.
You have to.
The path forward and the solutions, the potential solutions, I think are obvious to you. In fact, you dismiss some of them outright. You say, well, don't tell me this. Those are some of the answers. You dismiss, for example, the young adult groups in your area because you say, well, they would consist of the kind of people that I don't want to be around. And I would
go to the groups that would contain the people that you would want to be around.
Go here, but I'm not going to find people there. And I would go there, but there's going to be the wrong people there.
You got to think about, if you're looking for a wife, think about the avatar of the woman that she is and where would she be? What would she be doing? What would she be interested in? If you want somebody who is athletic, then go find somebody who is doing athletics.
Yeah.
And again, though, I'm back to eHarmony, though, because Summer and I are so alike, but didn't have any actual common interests. Because she would go play volleyball, which I'd liked, but I never played. And she liked to go out to sporting events. I like to go out to musical events. And she didn't. And she liked country music events if she was going to go to one, and I like classical or rock. And I was a swimmer. She wasn't.
Paths.
I was a musician. She can't play any instrument. Can like sing not really. Whereas it's just funny to watch her, do different things. And now she'll sing like little funny songs and things, over time. But occasionally there was you'd hear her sing and you'd be like, what was that? It was just, we had very, very divergent
So your paths
interests.
wouldn't have crossed.
Our paths would not have ever crossed.
Yeah.
But
had you not done eHarmony.
from that, eHarmony matched us on values, and it was great.
Sounds like you're just sort of assuming all of that.
He's right,
And you're not actually trying. You're not actually putting yourself out there. And as much as you don't want to hear it, that is part of the solution for you, potentially.
Yeah.
Yes, it is.
You got to put yourself out there more. I mean, you said that you go to...
You have to go do stuff and just go places. Go places. And then if you see someone interesting, here's the other thing. Don't just go up and talk to somebody because that's the girl that you like. Go up and talk to all kinds of people, strangers, regular people, whatever. Because you might just be nice to a lady and practicing those skills, and that lady might go, you know what? Oh my God, I need to introduce you to my daughter. And you look at her daughter and it's like, oh, wow, or whatever, You never know who and how you're going to meet anybody. So if you're a single guy, don't just sit at home like a recluse old, widower who's given up hope. Go out and do things and meet people. And it doesn't have to be stuff that you spend money on. Go to a park. Go enter a race or something that you can do. Go to any of the free activities that are out there, or go to stuff that's cheap, things that are outdoor, and just go and meet people and just talk with them, or any of that. There's plenty of different things you can do.
Go to work, you come home, you don't really socialize with anyone, you don't go anywhere else. Well, how would you meet anybody in that case?
Exactly.
Even if it's uncomfortable, and I totally get that. As an introverted person myself, I'm not into forced group activities. I'm not into any of that, but I did some of that when I was single. Because I realized I got to put myself out there. I got to get outside of my comfort zone a little bit.
I'd like to know how he found his marriage, his wife.
Yeah.
Focus on improving yourself.
Yep.
To whatever extent you can. And then the other practical piece of advice.
Same thing that you were mentioning. You got to work on yourself. And you got to be good and confident on yourself. At the moment where you decide, you know what, I don't need it, I'm happy and I'm good and I'm not even paying attention, that's when it will come to you.
Right.
That you didn't rule out, at least from the start, is that, and this is a big one, expand your search area. So you're telling me to begin with that there's no one in your area who you find worthy. And I'm willing to bet that there are women even in your area.
Probably, but also it really does depend on what area he's in. I mean, and you're a single guy, move.
Right.
Go somewhere else that's better.
Right.
You can go anywhere in the world at this point.
Yeah. You don't have anything tying you down.
Right.
There aren't many great things about the modern dating scene, but maybe the only one is that that you're not relegated just to where you physically live.
And I don't know why, if it wasn't for school, and then because of school, then being tied to having to be in Texas because that's where my law license is. So that ties me to Texas. Not as much anymore. I can do a lot more traveling, but I should have just, while I was working my way through the school, why not go to France? And even if I can only be there for 6 months, go wait tables in France.
Right.
And speak French with them, or if be an American waiter in Paris where everybody's speaking English anyway.
They don't tip though over there.
Well, that's true. But point being is there's so many different options.
No,
and that's one of the ones that I might have done.
That's the funny thing about being young, or at least in our age group, being young.
There's so many
you
different
didn't think
options.
like that.
Right.
But then as an adult,
And you could have.
But you can give the wisdom to the younger generation of hey, you can actually do this without being right here.
Yeah. Go somewhere where they think the American accent is sexy.
There you go.
Like, for example, an Australian or somebody from Britain coming to the United States, and especially Australia, women just melt for guys with an Australian accent. I find it impressive. We had a client, and he was very handsome, and he had an Australian accent, and he had a great job, and he just everything going for him. And he was going through a divorce with a woman who didn't appreciate him, unfortunately. Who was,
I think I remember this one.
Yeah, and I mean, that guy, he's got the world on a platter for him.
Right.
And he was such a nice guy, too. And if
I recall right, he made a really good living, too.
Yeah. Everything about it, except, unfortunately, I think maybe it was because the wife was an American, and, he was such a high-value guy. She just, I don't know. But he did everything right, too. Really well. Great dad, all that. And from Australia.
Yeah.
And he came to the United States. I mean, find somewhere where they think the American accent is cool, or that they think that, and go date them.
Right.
And go talk with them, because they'll at least strike up a conversation. They're interested in you automatically, and it's a hook. So go in and see if you can find one.
Right.
All kinds of different things that you can do.
You can expand your search area by using dating.
I think one of the problems is maybe he doesn't have a good career, and he's introverted, and he just feels like a loser. And if you feel like a loser, that kind of makes you a loser.
If you're an introvert, it's really hard.
It's all about your mindset.
Yeah, and it's really hard.
Well, Jennifer, I'm an extremely introverted person. Like, extremely, extremely. You would never guess, would you?
Not really.
Because I intentionally do things to put myself out there. Like, for example, I can certainly talk to people that come into our office and schedule a consultation, right?
Right.
It's because it's all completely structured. And I'm there, and they know who I am, an immediate built-in rapport. But when I'm going out and just in a crowd and whatever, I'm extremely uncomfortable with that. It's just, I'm out of my element.
I'm kind of like that too. It takes a minute for me. Like one of my friends, she said it perfectly. She's like, no, you're actually really outgoing, but you have to warm up to people first. She's like, it's like you have to examine who they are. And then once you feel comfortable with them, then you will. Yep.
There's techniques that you learn how to do that with people, which then breaks that barrier down, because introversion is probably just a symptom of not knowing how to do certain things and not being confident enough.
Well, there's certain people that are introverts that have a hard time having a conversation with people. Like they're in a shell.
It's a skill that you have to practice. It's like saying, I'm a weakling. Well, if you identify and you never try anything,
right?
But every weakling can become strong.
Right.
It's the same type of skill that can happen if you're introverted. It's not an inherent quality unless you decide that it is. For too many people, when they're young, they think they were introverted, and I was extremely shy, like extremely, extremely shy, unless and until I kind of got to know someone. So if you have that to where, if I warm up enough, and if I know them, and you can come out of your shell a little bit, if you can do it with anyone, you can do it with everyone. It's a skill that you just need to learn to get from where you are now to where it is that you want to be. Right. And it's just like there are plenty of videos out there about, hey, I was a little scrawny weakling, and so I decided I was going to change that, and so I did, and I became a strong and athletic, and you get to that point. LeBron James wasn't born being LeBron James. No. Neither was Tiger Woods. He worked on it. When he was a kid, it's getting dark. Hey, Tiger, come on in. Just one more ball, Dad. Hey, Tiger, you got to come in. Just one more ball, Dad. Somebody asked Tiger Woods' dad, what do you do to keep him practicing and working so hard? He goes, to keep him and make him work so hard, I can't get him to stop. And it's that he just put in the time and the drive and all of that. Well, you have to make a decision. If you're introverted and you're like this, make the decision. Come out of your shell. And go put yourself out there. And it's going to be awkward. Let it be. And if you have enough of those experiences, it won't bother you anymore.
Right.
Because inherently, I was the shyest little kid. There was plenty of times where I wouldn't talk, but you open me up, and I'm like I am here on the show. Why? Because this is a comfortable, safe type of space. But there's a lot of even discomfort with this. One of the reasons why we have done such a slow ramp up is because of how shy that I am, and I don't necessarily want to. I don't think it's good enough, and I don't want to necessarily put myself out there, although I know I have to. So it's just take a little baby step every day, and with those little baby steps, you get some momentum and you get stronger and stronger and you move. And you start out as a little snowball at the top of the hill. And by the time you get down with the momentum, you've got a giant avalanche going.
That's true.
Sites and that sort of thing. And you have to be willing to travel, you know? My wife, when I met her,
maybe you don't have to jump on an airplane, but
she lived 2.5 hours away. So it wasn't like she was halfway around the
or at least if you are, get inside the airplane, sit in a seat.
Across the country. But she was 2.5 hours away. And
boom,
so that meant,
there's my question. She was 2.5 hours away.
And that, like, to see each other took effort and time. That's not a bad thing, though. You know, when you have to put in, to begin with, you have to put the effort in and the time in just to see each other and be around each other. I think that can be a great advantage.
And if they're worth it for that.
Yeah.
If they are a high quality enough person with value matching to you, not, oh, they're so pretty and they're going to put out for me and that's what I want and I'm so attracted to them. And yeah, our personalities, there's a couple of problems that we have and we're not the same faith and there's huge differences in values and I want kids, but they don't, or I don't want kids and they do, or any these major value propositions. If your values are matching and that matches and you like them, then that can work.
It's 14 hours.
Ashley says, I've been married for 6 years and with my spouse for almost 14 years. Yes, it took him that long to propose. My question.
14 years that they're together before they get married. Those are ones I just don't.
Well, they've been together almost 14 years, but they've been married 6.
Married 6.
Those.
So it took
depends
him 8
on
years.
Depends on how young they were when they got together, too.
Yeah, I mean, I can see it.
Yeah, I mean, her husband could have been like, I'm trying to get, as financially secured, get a job,
that'd be good.
Get through college. You just don't know.
How often should a couple say, I love you? My husband is not outwardly emotional, hardly at all, unless he's upset. That's not good.
No.
And I'm wondering if he just settled for her because he didn't have anything else and he doesn't really love her.
Yeah.
Could be.
If you have a problem saying I love you, then yeah, there's a problem.
Could be. That worries me.
Yeah.
Question is, how often should a couple say, I love you? My husband is not outwardly emotional, hardly at all, unless he's upset. We next to never say, I love you. Should I initiate this more? What are your thoughts? Yeah.
Yes.
Yes, she should.
Yeah.
She should. And if he responds back to her, great. But if he does that, oh, okay, thanks, okay, then that's a problem.
Yeah, he might not.
Because I think sometimes you have to get people into the habit. I think I love you is how you're raised. So I will say this. My brother and my sister-in-law, with my niece and nephew, I noticed this, and I was always very impressed by this. Everything they did, they always said, I love you. They got off the phone. If they were leaving, they're like, I love you. They would always say that to one another. And they've always done that with me. Not that my parents didn't love me, but I didn't really grow up hearing that all the time. I'd hear it, but not like
we say it a lot.
Not with every single thing. Daniel grew up not hearing it like that either, and then like when we got together, we say I love you a lot more so now than maybe in the beginning. I mean, he's always told me he loved me, but I think now we with church, God, everything, we say it multiple times through the day. So we end every conversation pretty much with that. And you really need to realize, like, what if, like, you have a wreck and you die? And, that person, like,
We've seen that a lot in our practice, too.
Yeah, it happens every day. Like, and
you never know.
You didn't get to say that. Yep. So it's important.
Yeah, you should initiate it more. Just tell him you love him. Also, you could talk to him about this.
Maybe initiate something. Sometimes you have to reach out.
I think before you talk to him about it, I think you need to initiate it for a while and see if it changes the habit and the behavior. And if it doesn't, and you notice you're always the one initiating it, after a while, then have a conversation with them.
And I would say a while is
a few months,
20 to 100 or a couple of 100 times that you're doing this.
Yeah, I mean, I would not jump into immediately talking to someone about it.
come up and be nice to him and just give him a hug for no reason.
Because if she's not doing it and he's not doing it, then you're both in the wrong.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So you shouldn't like go, oh, I see this problem. Like, no, initiate it for a bit and before you jump to any issues with it. Don't make an issue out of something until you've done that.
Maybe you have, but I'm always surprised by how often it seems that people have these kinds of issues in their marriage, which are like relatively minor. Yeah. And then you talk to them, you find out, well, they've actually never talked about it.
Let me say, we don't really need to be here.
So this is something you could bring up to him, not in a nagging way, not in a scolding way.
I like your way. Just tell him you love him. Go up to him, put your arms around him, and just be nice to him for no reason whatsoever. And just take the moment and just let him know, I love you. And like give him a kiss and do it a lot over and over and over again because he'll soften up to that.
Oh, yeah.
Nothing like that, not in an accusatory way.
Once again, things that could have been brought to my attention yesterday.
You find a time when you're both in a good mood and you're sitting on the couch or something and you just tell them.
Wedding singer.
Was it?
It was.
Oh, you love me, but it makes me feel good to hear the words from you, and so I'd like for us to start saying it more to each other. I think
I'm going to start saying I love you a lot. And it would be great if you would too, but you know what? I love you. Oh, I love you too. Who's not going to say it back to you?
Yeah.
He would respond to that if you said that to him. And it is important to say the words. You know, it's not like you have to be on a schedule where it's like, well, you got to say I love you 14 times a week. You know, and if it's been a few days you haven't said it, then you got to catch up. It's not.
Did you see what it said at the top of the sign?
Don't.
It said 3 days without saying I love you.
Oh.
Look at that. Is that something online that you can do that, or did somebody have to? Did he have to customize?
It actually?
You know, and if it's been
custom Photoshop that. I wonder if that's an app.
Or is it actually an episode?
Was it?
I don't know.
A few days you haven't said it, then you got to catch up. It's not that, but you should. The words do matter to spouses and also matters to your kids. I think we should also be telling your kids.
Yeah, you need to say it to the kids a lot.
Yes.
We do say it to the kids a lot.
Yes.
Every time before they leave, we say it. And we give them a hug. There's always, no matter what, even what we're doing, I'll stand up and give Jonathan a hug before he walks out and all that. Yeah.
Yeah, it's important.
And I think we do it on the greeting and when arriving and when leaving. No matter what, we always do that.
Love them. All right, this will be the last one. This is from Jacob. Says, Matt, I recently did the impossible. I matched with a fellow sweet baby on Tinder.
What is a sweet baby? His fan base are the sweet babies. Matt Walsh has a sweet baby gang. Matt, do you have a sweet baby gang? We need a sweet baby gang. We need a name for our sweet baby gang. What's our sweet baby gang? It has to be something Hardy Har-Hars.
What?
We'll have the Hardy Girls.
The Hardy Girls. The Hardy Babies.
The Hardy Babies. We're going to have a Hardy Baby gang.
That does seem to be the on Tinder is where you found the fellow sweet baby. Wow. I didn't know we had a presence on Tinder. I don't know if I'm happy about that or not. As you can imagine, I was extremely excited, and we quickly began discussing our views and learning about each other. We exchanged numbers and socials and began talking.
Wait, they have Matt Walsh in common? Is that what they're saying?
Yeah.
I asked her if she wanted kids, and I also joked that maybe we should move to Tennessee together so we can rub elbows with the fine people of the Daily Wire. After a couple of days, I tell her that we should go out after the holidays, to which she seemed surprised and told me that she thought I was just her political buddy because I didn't. Oh, man. Sorry, man.
Friend zone.
Because I didn't flirt enough in the beginning and that she found someone else. This genuinely hurt.
No.
I find it hard to believe she didn't know I wanted to date her when we were on a dating app. Do you think this was her way of trying to let me down easy, or is she just evil and in need of being canceled? She's not.
No, she's not evil and need to be canceled. She told you nicely, and yes, this was her way of letting you down easy.
Yeah.
Not evil. She's a member of the Sweet Baby, Baby Gang, so we know she's not evil to begin with. I think this was.
I got to hear more about this Sweet
Her
Baby
trying to let you down easy.
Yeah.
Now, on her part,
But
she should
she's
be more
on
honest.
Tinder.
If you're on Tinder, there's no such thing as let you down easy. It's Tinder. It's a hookup everything. You shouldn't be on Tinder if you want any kind of actual relationship. Give me a break. That's a sex site. It's just what it is. It's a hookup site.
Yeah.
With you, but people don't feel always comfortable being that honest with especially someone they don't know. And Yeah, I think we can assume that she realized that you're not on Tinder looking for a, quote, political buddy.
Yeah, exactly.
Such a good friend, Brett. The bestest. Oh.
One of the worst kind of like friend. Of all the ways to friend zone someone, I think maybe that's one of the worst ways you can do it. Did you do anything wrong that made it so that she lost interest that quickly? It's impossible for me.
She found somebody else because it's Tinder. Tinder is order ranking everybody, and you're trying to match with the highest rank that you like. And it's all about that. It's I'm higher than this person. I'm lower than this person, and you know I feel like I'm a matchup, and these people are high quality. Which one of them is willing to dip down and pick me? It's loser, 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 loser. Okay, interested, winner. You know, like worse than me, better than me. Hopefully they'll swipe with me because they'll think I'm better, and if I think that they're better than me and they think that I'm better than them, then we'll get to hook up. That's what Tinder is.
Right.
You shouldn't be on Tinder if you're looking for any kind of decent and high quality relationship. It's a garbage tank.
I agree.
Me to say, based on this short description of the exchange that I have here, if I were you, I wouldn't have made the comment about moving to Tennessee together, and I know you phrased it as a joke.
Sorry, I'm making a go of it in a new city.
It wasn't entirely a joke, was it? It was.
No, it wasn't. You were serious, and you were trying to play it as a joke, and you just be yourself.
Yeah.
And he should have moved in.
He probably
and
weirded
closed the
her
deal.
out. And she's like,
he
just started talking
played
to
this,
you, dude.
Yeah, and he played this wrong.
Yeah.
Easy to do, but he played it wrong.
You were kind of like feeling things out. Not that you were going to move with her that moment, but when you just met someone on Tinder, you haven't even met them in person, and you're already even jokingly bringing up moving somewhere together, that might have freaked her out a little bit.
Yeah, one of these days, I'm interested to move up to Tennessee eventually. You know, you could say it like that, but yeah, you gotta, come on. Keep it
Other
real.
than that, you know, based on this, it doesn't sound like you did anything wrong, and you didn't let it linger too long. I think oftentimes the mistake a guy will make is that you I guess what they call the talk.
How come you're not just, we swiped different, move on?
Yeah.
Because you're emotionally invested. This is also why it's important that he talked to her, he built it up, and then she might be, and now he's building all and having these ideas and fantasies and all the visions and how this could be, and that maybe this is great. All these ideas about what it could be in his head, instead of, well, this could have just been a swipe different, right? But now he's invested a little bit in this person.
I think once you
if they're
swipe, I don't know much about Tinder because I've never been on it, but I think once you swipe, like you approve that person, like, okay, I want to hook up with that person.
And if both people do it.
Once you do it, I think you're kind of like stuck. So like she couldn't like unswipe him.
Well, no,
maybe, I don't know.
No, what I'm getting at is that he's going through people this fast, right?
Yeah.
But he spent some time with them, with her, fantasized this up in his mind, and now it's difficult to break up and get the information that you need, which was everybody else you weren't upset about.
Right.
Why? Because you didn't spend the time invested. Well, imagine if you're spending and investing time in people who are not right for you at all, and you finally get to that answer of they're not right for you. Well, it's much easier if you had just swiped they're not right for me in originally, then you've invested some and gotten some kind of emotional connection of some sort, and then when you break up, now it's disappointing. If you really had value for yourself, you would have never, if you had known that thing about them, ever had a relationship with them to begin with. Dating is about eliminating everybody who is wrong for you and picking your favorite from who is left over, and you pick it based on values. So she realized he wasn't right for her, and now he's, all distraught or whatever. It's not working. Oh, okay, great. Next.
Right. He's
that was the information that you needed.
He's too emotionally invested.
Right. And you're looking at this the wrong way. She wasn't right for you. Next.
Right.
That was the information that you wanted too.
Right.
She did you a favor. Next.
Right.
Talking phase, and you do the talking phase for weeks and weeks and months, and then finally you work up the courage to say, hey, maybe we should actually like physically go out together. And at that point, she's already lost interest.
My density has brought me to you.
What?
But you talked to her for a few days and asked her on a date. That sounds reasonable to me. But she wasn't interested, found someone else. These things happen. Get back out there.
Yeah.
Don't let that discourage you. And we will end on that encouraging note as we finish up here. Godspeed.
So, what do you think?
No, I agree. I like it. Yeah.
So, should we do some more of these side by sides and of Daily Wire Matt Walsh stuff? What do you think? Let us know in the comments. Like, subscribe. We'll see you in the next episode. This is the Lawyer Dana Show.
Bye.